I'm Victor Brooks, of course, from the Victor Brooks Show. And thank you again for joining us here at the Facebook Live quarantine series of the Victor Brooks Show. I just want to thank you all so much from the bottom of my heart. And before we get started with anything, I always love to give up the respect that's due for our first responders during this time we're living in right now. All of our medical staff, thank you so much for what you're doing. Our doctors, our nurses, our EMT, ambulance drivers. Thank you for our police officers, our fire people. I want to give it up to our teachers who are teaching online right now to our babies and who are continuing that education. And in some ways, for during the day, it's taking them away from all this madness we're seeing and living in at this point of our life right now. Thank you, teachers. I want to thank the truck drivers for going across the highways and byways so that in the days that hopefully some of us are only taking that day to go out, go ahead and buy the food that we need, the necessaries. The truck drivers made that possible to be there. Thank y'all so much. I want to give my condolences to the family members who have been personally affected by this, by either, unfortunately, death or presently illness at the moment. My heart and my prayers go out to you. It's going to be all right, y'all. We're going to get through this thing. And this is the whole reason that we're doing our Facebook Live quarantine series, because, of course, as you know, we usually record out of our studio out here on Wilshire, but hey, we're staying at home. We're staying at home and continuing to help not only ourselves, but help everybody else the best way we can. And today is I know my other campaign partner and sister of that stay-at-home vibe is Sister Maryum May Ali, this beautiful sister you see on this other screen. May, thank you so much, and assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam. Thank you for the greetings.
Yes, and I know, it's also very special because if I'm not mistaken, this is Ramadan for you as well.
Yes. Yeah. Ramadan is a very special, the most special time of year for Muslims all around the world. The Ramadan is actually a month on the Islamic lunar calendar, and it's the month the Quran was initially revealed. The Quran was revealed over a period of time. It was first revealed in the month of Ramadan. And we fast for Allah. You know, most deeds that we do are for our own souls or for ourselves. And so is fasting, but we fast only for the sake of Allah. And it's the month to delve into the Quran, to read the entire Quran if we can, from beginning to end. And fasting, the point of fasting is to train ourselves to attain taqwa. And what taqwa is, it's many meanings, but it's God consciousness. And that God consciousness allows us to monitor our behavior and to be able to restrain from what is good for us, which we call haram. Bad for us, which we call haram, and partake in what's good what's good for us, which we call halal. So we want to build up a strong taqwa. We want to build up God consciousness, and fasting trains you to do that. And there are other great qualities and virtues of Ramadan. If we do it successfully, and if Allah accepts our Ramadan, our sins are erased and we can start anew. But more importantly, we don't want Ramadan to be a month of being on our deen or on our best behavior just for that month. We wanted to kickstart a whole year of behaving the way a Muslim should behave, and not just go right back to any of the bad habits we may have had before Ramadan. So it's a beautiful month, and thank God I made it another year to see it. And it's, to me, it's a really special Ramadan because, a lot of the activities revolve around the mosque, but we're at home. We're sheltered in place right now, and I think there's a message with that as well. So it's a very special Ramadan, and I wish everyone who are, fasting and have a Ramadan Mubarak, and may we get through this Ramadan, and hopefully our prayers are answered.
Alhamdulillah.
Yeah. Yes.
so much. Now let's start with this. I can't go any further without giving also a shout out and a respect to Queen Kalia, your mother.
Kalila, yes. I told her she got on me the last time I did something like this. She texted me and said, "You need to tell me when you're doing stuff." I didn't think you wanted to see it. I sent her a flyer of this show. So hopefully she's watching. Hi, Mommy. I still call her Mommy.
Right on. Mom and Dad are watching too, so I know they give it up, y'all.
Yes.
Let's start at the beginning. Born in Chicago, Chi-Town.
Yeah, born and raised.
Eldest of 9 children, right?
Yes.
And
actually, you know what? My father has 9, but my mother has 2 from a marriage. So I'm the eldest of 11.
You're the oldest of 11.
11 with my mother's children with a marriage, Amina and Kalila. She had 2.
Fantastic.
2, yeah.
Now I know that responsibility because I'm the oldest, but it's only 3 of us. So I can just be 11, but much respect.
Yes.
And with that, I know at a young age for you, May, your father asked you a specific question at a young age. He asked you, and correct me if I'm wrong, he wanted to know, what do you feel your purpose in life is? And of course, we're talking about the greatest of all times, Muhammad Ali. But when that question was asked to you at that young age, what was your answer?
Before I say what the answer was, which a lot of people might know this, my father found his love at age 12. So, and he ended up sticking with that love of boxing. And I think that really drove home for him that it's important to think about what you want to do. It doesn't matter if you keep changing your mind, but to have that in your thought process to think, what do I want to do? So for some reason, I don't know, because I'm an eldest child and I'm caregiving, sometimes the eldest child likes to care for people. Maybe it was the impact of seeing him, the way he dealt with people, but I've always wanted to help people. I said, I want to help people. I used to watch documentaries of starving children in different countries as a 4 and 5 years old. And it would just make me cry. It bothered me so much. And at first I wanted to be a doctor, but the sight of blood made me faint. So I got out of that real quick. But I just always wanted to help people. And he would call me up from wherever he was in the world. And I would say from the ages of maybe 6 all the way through 14, he would always pose that question constantly because he wanted to be on my mind all the time. And, I ended up being in a helping profession in social and human services. So I think it's interesting. I think a lot of people, they find what they love early on. Some people, they go through phases, and I went through phases as well, but that's always been the through line for me. How could I spend my time uplifting someone else in some way?
Yeah. And you know what? Much respect on that, because you're right. A lot of people at a younger age than a lot would expect have that feeling of humanity that want to help, whether it's because of a personal family situation they've grown up, social thing. But I know not only of millions of us respecting and understanding that through your father's sports championship and legend of the greatest of all time, Muhammad was also a very caring humanitarian.
Yeah.
So maybe some of that was passed.
Most definitely. I think, you watch your parents very carefully.
Yeah.
Most people, and, a lot of issues that people have stem from the parenting, stem from the love or lack thereof. A lot of it is family and what your environment is and what you see. And definitely he had an impact for sure.
And with that, May, once you found that out and once that hit you, said, I just want to help people. Take us back to the early 90s. Maryum is how old now? And now to help people took hold as what?
You know what? I'll take it either further. Let's say probably the late 70s, early 80s. Like any other kid back in the day, I loved rap music. I never forget. I was at Markham Roller Rink in Markham, Illinois. So we would go roller skating every Tuesday when roller skating was really big. And Rapper's Delight came out. And there's like a little disco where they used to do the stepping, and
Yeah,
I was a little kid and had my roller skates on, and I went in to watch the guy stepping. And this unbelievable sound came on, and I just heard you guys rapping and talking, and I was like, oh, what is that? You know, and it was like a revelation, you know, and I fell in love with rap music. And from that time of hearing Rappers Delight, you know, I was on the basketball team, the volleyball team, the track team. I was an athlete. And I remember my first rhymes, we used to go to games, and if we won or lose, I would make a rap on the bus about the game, right? on the way back to our home school, and people were like, May's at it again. And that's when I used to rap about how we lost or how we won, and my friends would just laugh. Yeah. And when I was around a teenager, after my first year in college, I was at USC. And I started, USC is in a rough neighborhood. It's in South LA, and it's my first like serious rhyme song was about the neighborhood that we were in. And it was about the injustice, the disparities, and back then Public Enemy and KRS-One and those type of rappers were really, you know, hot. It was still kind of underground. It wasn't, you know, too popular yet, but had his own little lane.
Right.
And I started writing a lot of lyrics, and I caught the bug like a lot of kids. And I really wanted to make a record, you know, but my whole goal was I want to be a role model for young ladies. I want to, you know, I want to be something different. I do want to be like a Public Enemy and talk about something important, talk about something spiritual. And I said, you know what, I will go back to college. And I knew I would go back to college, but I wanted to do this album while I was young. So I did. My first single was Satisfaction. And I'll never forget it. It was a Rolling Stone. No, it was what loop was that? I can't remember the loop it was, but I was a Gamble & Huff, Kenny Gamble & Huff Records in Philadelphia. And I did that single, and I ended up leaving my management and had like a little legal thing with the management. So the single came out and that kind of withered away. And then I went back to school for a minute, and then I came out with an album called The Introduction on Scotty Brothers Records.
Right, that's it.
And at the time, I remember James Brown was on the label. What's the brother who did house music? God, I'm forgetting his name. He was on the label. Sean Cassidy, even Weird Al Yankovic. Anyway, it was an interesting label.
Who would they're doing their thing?
Oh yeah, he was making millions. But anyway, so I did the album, and they did allow me to do what I want to do. My album, you know, there's not a genre called Islamic gospel. But if there were, that's what my album was, you know. I'll never forget, my first single was called Life's a Test. And I actually saw it in the Quran, Life's a Test. It was in the note part of the Quran. And the whole video, and you can actually find this video on YouTube. One of my dancers, Doc, what's up, Doc? Doc put the video up, and I'm like, oh my God, he put the video up. But you know, we have all the cross colors on, jumping around. Right. And it's vignettes about how life's a test, right? Okay. So how
were you, May? I'm sorry.
I was about 2021. It was 1992. Yeah.
Okay.
Tenderoni.
There you go.
So it was great. And then the second video was called When I Enter His Mind.
Okay.
My dancers put that up on YouTube too. I didn't put them up on YouTube. They did, but you can find it. And it's about how women do not sell your body out. You know, do not only define yourself on your looks and how people think you look. You know, right. if you're gonna date or marry, you know, check out the man's mind and what's in his mind first, not just his looks. So that was the second single. And, you know, like I said, everything was just based on positivity and just something that was more on the spiritual side. And I'll tell you, I was in the business for a minute, and you could see when you're in the business, you can see the behind the scenes.
There you go.
You can see what the A&R people are like. You can feel the environment you're in. You can hear people talking about what they're going to promote, what they're not going to promote. You have the conversations of what people want you to be, and making you into something you're not. And, the whole Me Too movement, yes, is new now, but back then as a young lady in the business, I knew of ladies who were harassed or assaulted. I knew of men and women who sold their souls to get where they were at.
Right.
And it just wasn't, as I was in the business, I love the creative part. I love the writing, but I didn't like the industry.
Gotcha.
And as a Muslim woman, I'm like, this may not be how I am going to help young people. I never forget, I had a meeting with this A&R, with this writer who was going to co-write with me on a second album.
Okay.
And we had a lunch meeting. This is just to show you how crazy it was.
Yeah.
We had a lunch meeting, and I came in a dress, and I looked like a girl, and he was acting very fidgety around me.
Okay.
And I'm like, why are you so, are you okay? You seem uncomfortable. And he says, I am a little bit, because the people I write for, the chicks I write for, they either like real masculine, or they're like ex-strippers, or, they got a whole, you're like a regular, and I'm going.
I can dig it. Right. Right.
Okay. And, and I had a few of those experiences. So seeing that, I knew a positive female rap artist who was Muslim would never get the promotion of someone coming off the pole. I knew it. I knew it back in 1992. So I decided, no, this is not, I intentionally left the business.
Okay. And see, and once again, back to that personal belief, that personal establishment of what you want, what your boundaries, what your what your mission is, still going back to your original answer. My purpose, I feel, at this young age is to help somebody. And then you go into your creative mission. You use the hip hop, the writing, the lyrics as your segue into this is going to be my platform. And then you run into these realities.
Yes.
Inside of the business that you were hoping, hey, help me get this message out.
Right.
And then much respect, man. I know that had to have been an education out of be female, to be Muslim, to be African American, to be on a mission, all the way on a mission for what you feel in others as a positive purpose to help ladies and people. When you left the business, okay, take us to what it made me decide, okay, what, am I just going to write for other people now? Or
you know what? It's unlike some artists, I was Maryum first and I was Muslim first.
Gotcha. Okay.
I wasn't going to say, how do I figure this out and just stay an artist? Yes. Some people, right now I write poetry, short poems. When I feel that urge, I'll just write something within a few minutes. Some of my poetry is on my Instagram page. Yeah, I get it out some kind of way because it's in me. And like I said, I love being in the studio. I love the creative process.
Right.
I'm a right brain. I love creating, but why I wanted to create and the reason why I even went in that direction wasn't for fame and it wasn't to be an artist per se, only that. It was, what can I do with this? And what can I do with this won over everything.
There you go.
So I did want to go back in. So when I saw that all the barriers and when I saw that people were saying loud and clear with posters, with flags, with emails, with whatever medium they were using, it was loud and clear that this hip hop genre is limited.
Okay.
To certain things.
Mm-hmm.
And to this day, and the gamble I made to not stay in the business was correct, because to this day, there is no plethora of female artists that are super positive and super spiritual. That doesn't exist within hip hop. You might have women who do that, but they're not promoted as such.
Right.
So I made the right decision.
Mm-hmm.
I could see that wasn't going to happen in this genre. I could see that wasn't going to happen. Like other genres, country western, neo soul, rock, alternative. They have more. There are more levels to those genres that you can be on. So I had to look and say, well, I'm going back to college for sure. What degree will allow me in the most flexible way, give me more opportunities of being in it? What's the helping profession? At first, I was going to be a teacher, but I thought that was limiting because all you could do is teach. And if I got tired of teaching. So when I found the degree of social work, I saw you work with the elderly, you could work with young people, you could work with the homeless population, you could work with just in the hospital setting. And I said, this is it. The social work is it. So I did go back to school, got my degree in social work. I was happy. I went back to school at a later age of 27. So I was like determined to be a straight A student because I'm like, okay, these I gotta outdo these youngsters.
Hey, well, you know what? And it worked because if I'm not mistaken, correct, you Magna Cum Laude.
Yeah, I graduated. Yeah, A student. I was really proud of myself. And I worked when I was in college, I worked in hospice, the hospice setting.
Wow.
And I worked as a mediator for the courts. I got a couple different tastes of social work. And finally, I went back to home base, which was the young people. Unfortunately, I had a cousin who died in gang violence in Chicago while I was in college. Okay. And between that and just my love of just young folks, I wanted to get into working with youth who are living in, high crime areas. And so I left school, I came back to LA and worked with a great organization called Community Build. Shout out to Community Build. They are still doing great work. You can look them up online if you're in LA.
All right.
South LA area. And I was with them for maybe almost 10 years.
Right on.
And
I'm sorry, go ahead, man.
Yeah, but basically they had a lot of programming, but they had a juvenile delinquency prevention, gang prevention program that I worked with. And it was some of my best years working with hundreds of families in South LA and some of the highest crime locations, trying to give them alternative and divert them away from joining gangs. And I met a lot of beautiful young people and families, and some of those kids are now in their 30s that I worked with, and I'm Facebook friends with them, and many of them are doing well. And it was a blessing.
Hey, come on. You know what? And I'm going to just concur on that blessing from my and my family's personal journey with the care of young people. It started with my father's parents back in the 50s in Baltimore, Maryland. They dedicated their life to this mission. And of course, laws were different then, and things were different as far as the court system and how the care of those young people. But they dedicated their life to they said, listen, no. Don't send these young people to juvie. Don't send them to jail.
Wonderful.
Bring them to our home. So growing up all my life, wherever they lived, however whatever life brought them, they had young people living in their home. These young people who, if they weren't there, it would have been the court system or worse. And then my parents followed suit in dedicating their life through Youthful USA for the same thing. So growing up with this mission, it goes deep. And I respect it. And ironically, this is how my father connected with your father.
I didn't know that.
That's right.
Interesting.
Your father, once again, going back to that side of Muhammad Ali, of that humanitarian, that man on a mission to help people. That is where and I'm getting chills remembering the first meetings with my father, who, and your dad, who eventually became a very close brotherhood relationship in the mission of helping people.
Right.
And especially in the mission of helping young people
Mm-hmm.
at this age who don't have another alternative of that family feeling. And just like you said, once Youth for USA jumped, and your father was right there from the get-go, he, this advice or opening and different opening doors, and together with my father, even to this day, the young people like you mentioned, May, who are in their 30s, some maybe be hitting 40.
Yeah.
It's still a family connection.
Mm-hmm.
And this is special. So I'm sorry, I got an emotional
heartbeat. Yeah, wow. Do I see a tear? Do I see a little tear right there? No.
About 3 of them.
You know what, Victor?
I'll get a tear. I ain't saying.
Yeah, I didn't know that. I knew our fathers knew each other, but I didn't know that was the connection. Yeah.
They were in their 80s on, man. I mean, your father, I remember going to Fremont Place, and your father was just so gracious and welcoming in, and he had that big, beautiful desk right there.
Yes.
And he sitting there handling his thing, but
yeah,
the essence of what I remember and what I see in you, in your work, you bring that same, okay, you and I both know, okay, we grew up in this business. We know how this business can do. You have some people in this business, especially if they're able to get to an iconic level,
right,
in this business, the person and their family members, God bless them, they really either lose a thing of humanity to the point of, let's connect with people. When the cameras go off, when you turn off my movie, when you turn off my record, I still should have a mission in life, dedicated to help somebody else.
Right.
That's what I remember from your dad, and what I learned. It was the same thing that I see in you, May, because you could be let's keep it real. You could be a whole nother alternative of, I picking and choosing who I may want to deal with, as far as helping this person. No, you help them. Yeah. You go out, you see a need, the gang prevention thing. Much respect to that, May. Much respect. And I'm glad that a lot of people, if you didn't know it, now you know it. Maybe Mary Ali's on a mission to help. And so, because it took you even to the mayor's office in LA, what specifically did you do there?
Yeah, so when I left Community Build in 2008, I believe, Mayor Villaraigosa, he put the whole gang initiative under the mayor's office. And so I ended up applying for a position there, and it's still there. And people in LA should know about this department. It's called the Department of Gang Reduction and Youth Development, if you're in Los Angeles. And they have agencies that provide gang prevention and intervention services throughout Los Angeles. If you have any young person that's in need, any person that's maybe in a gang and is trying to get out, that's the gang intervention. They should contact the mayor's office, and because these services are free to the community, and they're in certain areas. They're in mostly the highest crime areas in the valley. It's not just South LA. Some programs are in the valley, but just for the folks in LA listening to this, tap into them if you know any young people who need help. So I went there, and I became a regional manager of in that department at the mayor's office. I was there for about 4.5 years. I learned so much. It's a political environment, of course, which is very different from the nonprofit environment I came out of. I enjoyed myself. I learned a lot about policy, and we helped do trainings and did contract monitoring of the agencies in the area. And so it was working in that field from another angle. It wasn't direct practice with the families and having clients like I did, but it was that administrative angle and that monitoring angle, which I learned a great deal. And Shout out to everyone there at the grid office. But I left because I was a little burnt out. Sometimes social workers, we get in people in human services who burn out. And I think I burnt out because from 1999 to 2013, I had never had a vacation.
Look at that.
Not that I wasn't given a vacation. I didn't go on vacation. Uh-huh. I chose not to relax.
Oh.
So what I would do on my spare time, because I love my grandparents dearly, I would go home to Chicago and be with my grandparents.
Okay.
Or I would visit my father. I'd visit both.
Yeah.
But it never was like a trip to Hawaii or Tahiti or Florida or the Bahamas. I never really relaxed.
Yeah.
So I didn't think that would affect me. I thought I was on vacation.
Right.
But after from 1999 to 2013, I realized I just kind of collapsed mentally, psychologically. I mean, I didn't have a breakdown or anything, but I was very tired.
Okay.
And I took a really long sabbatical.
Okay.
I'm actually ready now to get back into direct practice. But I went and did public speaking for a long time. Of course, the COVID-19 crisis shut anything with crowds or traveling down. But when I left, I have my business partner and I, and Nasan Buchanan, he's still at the mayor's office. We developed our own youth program model. And, we've been slow in raising money to get it all started. And I think the reason why I was so slow was because I wanted that time off from the work.
Okay.
I just needed to do my own thing for a while.
Yeah.
And we all need that. But the public speaking had a lot to do with, I would public speak for human and social service organizations. Yeah. So I was still in the field doing conferences and fundraisers, sharing my experiences and doing some inspirational talks around that.
Yeah.
But if anyone, I would love for you to go to dmtlfamily.org. That's the program we're raising money for. And
can you give us that again?
Yeah, D. As in Dolores, M as in Marcel, T as in Tyree, L as in Larry. Those are actually the names of my business partners, family members. Unfortunately, they were victims of violence, fatalities in Gary, Indiana, and he started this nonprofit with their initials. So dmtlfamily.org, it's the program we want to do. It's a 3-year program, a 3-year pilot for juvenile delinquency prevention and gang prevention. And the website is pretty detailed on what it looks like, that model looks like. So, our prayer is that after this shutdown, we're able to, or during the shutdown and after, we're able to raise enough money to do the 3-year pilot. And we want to do it in South LA. So,
keeping that banner going, keeping that, you know what? And I want to kind of, and a big shout out to dmtl.org, and we're going to keep
dmtlfamily.org.
Family.org. We're going to keep that on our website as well.
Sure, thank you.
What I'd like to do, because it's heavy, I'm getting messages on my side that are blowing up.
Oh, really?
People want to ask. Do you mind if I ask you a couple?
Sure.
One of the main things, it's a few of the female listeners right now that are, number one, giving you big respect for what you stood for the female in the music industry. Then some are giving you respect for the standing for the female image, period. Where did that strength come from in you?
Islam.
Right on.
Period. My religion, period. And of course, my mother, my father, my grandparents instilling that in me. My faith or anybody else's faith is something you choose. Yes, you could be born around it and you can have it, but because your parents are something don't mean that's what you're going to be. You have to choose that as an adult. And the respect of women, there's this misconception that Islam dogs women out, which is a misconception that was put out there on purpose. The Quran gives women more respect and more rights than any other book. If you study it, you'll know that. and so there's a lot of misconceptions that divert people away from this faith. But, you know, Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, the prophet of Islam, he was married to a woman that was wealthier than him, Khadijah, peace be upon her. She was actually his boss, right?
Okay.
And so knowing my faith the best that I can, and being on a continuous journey of studying, you've always, you know, you have to, you know, and I'm not perfect and never been perfect. Mm-hmm. However, how you present yourself as a woman is very important in our faith, and also in the Christian faith and in the Jewish faith, all the major, and it's not just Islam, but if you really are paying attention to your faith, you'll see that self-respect is important in all those faiths. Very so that's the main thing. Main thing.
Your belief, your spiritual connection keeps that.
And you know what? I did have a really strong relationship with a father figure. He told me how to respect myself, and he shared with me at a very young age the games men play. And I will say, I pray for those women who don't have that father figure in their lives, because it can impact their behavior, sexual abuse and physical abuse, and you know, all that impacts behavior. And I pray for those women who struggle with that, and they could find guidance and find something to hold on to that could pull them out of any hardships or challenges that they may be facing. And my prayers are for them. But definitely having a strong father figure is very impactful. And a strong mother figure, a strong grandparents. I mean, I was very blessed that all four of my parents taught me in so many different ways.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, right on, man. Thank you for that. Thank you. I'm hearing thank yous coming on this right now. You know, that touching and spreading that message and wisdom. Also, what were your challenges, or what are your challenges of being the child of Muhammad Ali?
Yeah. I've always been asked the question, how is it like? And I was like, Victor, don't ask me that question. But it's let me put everything into perspective. There are people, there are children in Syria that are, I hate to say it, that are being blown away by their own government. They're refugees living in tents right now that might starve due to COVID-19 and who have been starving. The atrocities and the suffering around the world, if you look at those things, I have no complaints, right? But to answer your question, I would say the pet peeve, I'll make it a pet peeve and not a complaint. I would say the pet peeve of being the daughter of Muhammad Ali is that in a world where celebrity is praised way too much, people have assumptions, and those assumptions can be barriers for me, or they're things that I gotta tackle or address or check. Right. And so there's an assumption, Muhammad Ali is rich and famous, you're rich, right? So if I'm at a fundraiser, you know, people might be looking at me like, you're not gonna bid $10,000 on that, sister? You know, it's like, don't have $10,000 just to give you. So, I mean, it's just now it's funny for me. It's a funny thing. But it can make you angry. There was a show that came on, I forget the name of it now. And I actually did an interview with Sway, and I addressed this and attacked this show immediately on social media, on Twitter, because the show presented all of me and my siblings as greedy children of inheritance who all inherited. Yeah, it was crazy. Who all inherited $6 million and was upset with our stepmother because that's all we got. And the show just did a blatant lie. And I'm going, wow, right? Like they took it to that level. I mean, I'm used to just little, just people saying little things that doesn't bother me. But this was a whole 1 hour episode demeaning and degrading and lying on me and my siblings.
Exactly.
And saying that we only visited our dad on his deathbed. It was just horrible, horrible. And it was done with in living color. I forget the name of it. I think possibly the first interview I did on Sway and the tweets I made, and I tagged the production company who did the show. And I think they pulled it off the air because of me kind of clapping back.
Gotcha.
But my siblings and I am so proud of them, all of them, because they're all hard workers. Mm-hmm. We all work for a living. We're in the community, approachable, loving towards people, and we're doing our thing. And we embrace and love our father's shadow. People say it's a shadow. I said it's not a shadow; it's a shade.
Come on now.
That we really love his legacy, and but we live our lives and we work hard, and we're not laying up, just living off inheritance. So so that would be something we have to deal with a little bit. And like I said, we usually deal with it as fine, but that whole thing they put, and everything is broadcasted everywhere. And as a public speaker, my reputation precedes me. And if I'm seen as a crazy spoiled brat, which I'm not, how are they going to bring me in to speak on working with at-risk communities? So that kind of show could really hurt my earning ability. And I have other sisters who are public speakers, and their reputations are golden. So that was deep. So being a person without a famous father, you're not dealing with that kind of massive promotion of something that's false. Right. So, but like I said, it's something we can deal with. Luckily, because of social media, I'm able to go on and defend myself and defend my family and get it out just as soon as, stomp it out as soon as it's created. You know what I'm saying?
And much respect on that, because one thing about Sister May, she ain't afraid to go ahead and let's talk about this. If it's coming at me left. No.
I gotta put on the Ali Frazier gloves. And
there we go. And back to your sisters, the best siblings, like you said. I mean, your sister Hannah's doing her author. It's an incredible book. I have it here in my book.
Gosh, Hannah's book, At Home with Muhammad Ali. And I'm not just plugging this because she's my sister. My Hannah is the author of my dad. She has 3 books out about my father. And this last one, I'm telling you, the audio version of it is brilliant, because the speaker, I remember she was looking for someone to do the audio for it. And she was sending me some of the voices. And she picked a lady who was so good at playing all my dad and his wife. And even me, when she plays me, because audio, the reader is really important. The person who does the audio. Okay. So the audio is really, and it's a special treat at the end of the audio that you don't get in the book. But, At Home with Muhammad Ali. It's a brilliant piece of work, and it shows you a side of my father, literally out of the thousands and thousands of books about my dad that you don't know about him. There you go. And he gets into what did he do after boxing, and what were his challenges dealing with Parkinson's, and how was he going to redefine himself, and what would he do for work, and showed his vulnerability and not boxing and how he handled that, not being able to be in his sport he loved. And no other book has really shown that side of him, and how he is as a father. So shout out to Hannah for that book.
That's right.
If you love Ali and you want to hear something new about him, At Home with Muhammad Ali is, I told her, Hannah, this is a masterpiece. I told her that.
That's it. Right on, Hannah. And like you said, hard work. And you mentioned a word that I have to go back to when you talked about one of the characteristics of you and your family, which was approachable. Yeah. And that a lot of people don't really understand how important, or how important that is, how real that is to people, man, and that's one thing I remember about your dad as well. I can remember And if you don't mind me reminiscing for a minute.
No, I love it.
I remember times when, my brother and I, or my father and brother and I would be riding with your dad, and he would literally, I remember one time he came out of Fremont, stopped, had to mail a letter, went to the post office right there, the little post office drop there. Traffic stopped. Of course, nobody knew way back who it was, but traffic stopped. He got out the car with his letter, mailed his letter, and don't you know the love on both sides of the street once they saw who it was. I mean, and not only did traffic stop, people got out of their cars. People would come over, and your father taught me another lesson that day, because he shook the hands right in the middle of Wilshire.
Oh yeah, sure.
And the autographs. He took the pictures. So when we got back in the car, he made the lesson clear. He said, because he knew I was trying to be, at that time, aspiring singer and what have you. And the advice was, no matter how big you get, no matter how famous you get, no matter how rich you get, you don't forget the people who are giving you that applause, the people who are buying your records, the people.
Yeah.
You carry that to this day.
You know what? I break it down to the genesis of this is, I'm gonna bring it. So I'm gonna go to the spiritual side for a minute. In the Quran, in the Bible, I believe Lucifer was the falling angel. Am I correct?
Yes, he was.
And in the Quran, the name is Iblis, and Iblis is a fallen jinn. He's not an angel in the Quran, he's a jinn. And one of the reasons why he fell and he went against God is because he said, I'm better than man. I'm better than man. I'm made of fire, man is made of clay. I'm better than man. And it was in one of the first sins against God was one of arrogance and feeling that you're superior to someone else.
Come on.
Right? So if you feel in any way, whether you're a doctor, lawyer, Indian chief, or whether you're a singer, actor, rapper, whether you're a rich or VIP and working as a politician, whatever it is, your house is bigger, your car is nicer, you have long hair, whatever it is, your skin is lighter, whatever it is making you feel superior, stop.
Come on.
You're not superior. And this COVID-19, it shows us that no one's superior to anybody else, even with this virus, and that's one of the signs. But to think you're better than for any reason is wrong. And that's really what my father was getting at. And that's really why you support people who support the boxing. Yes, that's the surface reason. However, the big reason is you don't want to be like Lucifer or Iblis.
Come on now.
You don't want to, before God say, I'm better than this person because of this or that.
Gotcha.
And I think that a lot of us are guilty of that in some kind of way, and we should really check ourselves. Now, with that being said, this whole social media thing, and I have to put this out there, everyone can contact everybody, right? You can go to Instagram, someone in Fiji could say, hey, May, can you talk today? Can you do this for me? I have to say this. Social media is so massive and interconnected. There's so many Muhammad Ali fans. I wouldn't get anything done in the day if I had to chat and oblige everyone on social media. It's not going to happen. So, and it doesn't mean that I feel I'm superior. It means that I would not have a life, and I could not even fulfill my prioritized obligations in the day. So anybody who's watching this, that say you say you're approachable, answer my call, answer my Facebook. I can't do that, sisters and brothers. I can't. So, and my thing is this: I'm not a celebrity. My father is, but a lot of Muhammad Ali fans and people who love him, and I love that they love him. They want the children to just do whatever they ask us to do.
Gotcha.
That's kind of infringing on our privacy as well. So I just had to put that out there because I feel bad. I can't talk to everybody
Right.
I try to acknowledge people, but I can't be on social media 24 hours a day.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And I would tell people it's okay to have the pages and the Instagram and all that, but we have to be productive in our lives and address the people that are right there, our families, and
Yes.
and we have spiritual obligations and financial obligations, and so I don't want people to take that approachable thing to the point of I got to answer 1,000 emails a day and 1,000 messages a day.
Right.
Muhammad Ali fans want to have a conversation. It's impossible for me to do that.
I got you.
Yeah.
And that's real. And that's truth. That's real.
Yeah.
They say 24 hours in a day. And especially if your life is mission driven.
Yeah.
If your life is mission driven on a global scale, that those 24 hours in a day can go like that. Especially in the thing of trying to create, respect and much understanding on that. It is.
Because he's known all over the world, and it's a blessing. But with social media, it's like, man, I mean,
do you think this whole social media thing, the pros and cons of this? I know we've talked before about the pros and cons of having a social media, the exposure of it, the community of it. You know what I mean? To me, I'm going to give mine at first.
Yeah.
I believe that there are pros and cons.
Most definitely.
That social media can give a presentation. Of course, we know that you can highlight pictures. I mean, going on the real, little incy parts of it. There's certain unrealities that about a person's life that can be given through social media that can create a community of other unrealistic life. Okay. To me, that is a con. The pros of it is what we're doing right now. Mm-hmm. Being able to spread this positivity, to spread wisdom that you're giving today, to be able to spread insight of spirituality and humanism and the whole thing. Now, to me, those are the pros and cons. The negative are the if we're not careful, we can fall into a fake life of adoration that is not productive for anybody, I don't think. But the positive, we're able to put some positivity out there.
Yeah. There are a lot of cons. I'll just mention a few. I'll say misinformation.
Yeah.
There's a lot of lying and a lot of fake information. People just spread out. I'll say it's addictive. I don't think people are as productive as they can be in real life. They live virtually, so that's a problem. And I'll say harassment. There's a lot of negativity, and I've gotten death threats.
Come on now.
I did the show 60 Days In,
That's right.
where I was in jail, a real jail undercover, and they did some real trickery editing on that show. And a couple white supremacists, they had to have been white supremacists for what they did some death threats. So just harassing people. There are children who commit suicide because they're being harassed online. So yeah, we all know anything that can be done that's negative or immoral and unethical without social media is now broadcast all over the world in real time. So it's just, I would just tell folks, it's okay to have it. But if you find yourself spending hours and hours and hours and hours, it's something you should be doing in your real life.
Gotcha.
Problem solving that you could be doing, connecting with real people. I have friends who only text. They don't call, they don't visit. And I know those are my texting friends. I know who they are. They just text.
Right.
I love them still, but they're certain type of friends, Right. So it's cool. But I try to monitor myself as much as possible and not be on there too long. Like people will send me messages in my inbox and I just never see them on Facebook. When I go on Facebook, I'll post something and I'm off. I'll do a couple things and I'm off. I just don't stay on there for hours and hours because I'm doing something else. So I miss messages, and I tell people, if you really know me and want to tell me something for real, email me. If you're
Gotcha.
like a real friend of mine, email me because I'm not going to see that messenger inbox. I'm not going to see it. Yeah.
May, I just can't thank you enough, sister, for taking your time.
I love your show.
Thank you so much.
I've been watching most of them. I have a couple to catch up on.
Okay, thank you.
But yeah, I was telling Wendy, her mom, from the emotions. I sent that show to my aunt in Chicago because she loved the emotions.
Oh man, the emotions.
Man, I saw, and she had every album of the emotions, and I said, Shahara, you have to see this interview. All the history. So I love how you're providing so much of the history, the musical history, and so much I didn't know, being, the age that I am. So you're teaching me a lot, and you're doing a great job, Victor.
May, it means so much, my sister. Thank you so much for joining us, and even that you're here through your spiritual time right now, taking that out of your day. And ladies and gentlemen, there's so much more that May and I can talk about. And I hope that someday we can definitely schedule another time for you to come back and maybe do some questions and answering or what have you with the people. It's blowing up over here on this. It's blowing up. It's all love.
That's good.
Once again, thank you all. And don't forget the Victor Brooks Show YouTube channel. Go on over there and press that subscription and that thumb up for me on the Victor Brooks channel. If you know our first episodes, we were in the studio, the coronavirus hit, and I'm doing my part like so many others to stay home and until this whole thing gets a grip on itself to help myself and others. So we're at home at this time, calling it the Facebook Live Quarantine Series. So we're moving on.
Okay.
And keep going with ladies and gentlemen to join us over on Instagram Live. Every Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, I do an Instagram Live Positivity Posse series where I have artists who you may know and some you may not know. Just somebody who may be a carpenter at times, but during this time, they decided to pull out their ukulele and start playing. And we're talking to them, finding out what is the power of artistry that's bringing you through, and share it with us so we can have this to bring through as well. So it's over there on Instagram Live, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, Positivity Posse. And then Saturdays and Sundays over here at Facebook Live on the Victor Brooks Show page, we have these interviews for you. I love you, Sister May.
I love you too, Victor.
Alhamdulillah. And
alhamdulillah. What does alhamdulillah mean?
You know what? Alhamdulillah, shakur is what was taught to me. And honestly, I know it has a direct respect.
I'm testing you.
To God. But what I would like to do is, because I would like for you to explain in your term the exact description and meaning. I know what it's meant to me in my, respect.
Well, alhamdulillah is all praises are due to God. All praises are due to Allah. Yes, all praises are due to God. And, I just will say real quick, a lot of people don't know this. I did a visit to Jerusalem, Palestine, and Israel recently, and we went to a Catholic service. And in Catholicism, is it pastor? What is in Catholicism? What do they call the priest? Well, it was an Arabic speaking Catholic service, and in Arabic, Allah is God. And in that Catholic service, they use the word Allah. So some people think Allah is only used by Muslims, but so alhamdulillah is all praises due to God. Yes.
Due to God. I knew I was praising God when I said it.
Well, thank you.
Praise God because I have respect for the Muslim religion.
Yes.
Ways, and a lot of things because of you and your family. Take it easy, sister. Try to stay cool out there. It's hot.
Okay. Yes, I got my air conditioner on today. First day. All right.
All right now.